Here we are again. We have another problem here at this particular place where we are now, and we have with us another of our Solutioneers. Here we did have a problem, and of course we had the solution. And this time our Solutioneer is Maroun from New Rock Constructions. So where are we here now, Maroun?
We're at Strathfield Plaza on the boulevard, where is a shopping complex and an office tower, a 9-storey building above us. And we had a considerable problem here some years ago. Well, the problem was that because when they constructed the building they'd forgotten to put in the control joints and expansion joints on the building, the brick facade started to move and break away from the building. And when we came on the site, when we were called by the owners directly from Singapore, they urgently asked us to come down and have a look at the building, and we found that the brickwork had moved 60 millimetres away from the building, which was only leaving about 50
60 millimetres from the building. And what, the whole facade was ready to collapse?
The whole facade, all 9 stories, could have ended up down on the street where we are now and destroyed the buildings across the road and could have killed a lot of people.
So we are talking about a major problem, big problem here.
A major catastrophe.
Not just a little crack in a lintel or anything like that, but a catastrophe.
Later found out that they left the steel out of it.
So it was just a construction mistake, you would say?
I would say yes, an oversight where they just hadn't paid attention to how concrete frames shrink over time and brickwork grows over time.
So brickwork grows. Tell us a bit more about brickwork grows. When people build brickwork, tell us with your experience, what does it mean for just the simple people that they're watching us?
Well, the thing to remember is when they burn a clay brick in the kiln, it shrinks. And then for the next 10 years after it's been produced, it'll grow again. And normally in a 6-metre length wall, it'll grow a millimetre a year for 10 years.
Okay, so this is why we see these straight lines in a lot of the brickwork and concrete.
That's right.
You call them, what do you call this?
Control or expansion joints.
Okay, so why do you have to have these joints so you can actually, if the brickwork gives away, it has somewhere to go?
It allows for the brickwork to grow and not to break itself and not to force itself against the building, so that it can move with a bit of freedom and still be rigid, because the brick ties hold it to the building or hold the cavity work together.
Okay, so in this particular case, they didn't actually allow for expansion joints or control joints, like you said.
They had absolutely no control joints.
That's a big oversight.
For 9 stories high, there should have been at least a control joint every 3rd floor. And across the facade of the building, there should have been at least 3 control joints for the width of the building, which was in excess of about 50 metres.
All right, so tell us now the solution. What did you actually have to do? You were called here on a Saturday afternoon, and urgently you had to do something. Did you have to close the streets or anything like that? Or so was it that urgent?
As soon as I saw what the problem was, I rang the council and we got permission to close the street immediately. The police came, the council, we blocked off all the road, we evacuated the plaza, we evacuated the car park, because the problem was that a strong gust of wind could have brought it down. It was very, very dangerous.
We're talking about a catastrophe, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. And the sort of thing that it could have possibly killed a lot of people.
Okay, so what's the solution? What do you have to do? You had to put a scaffold up?
Yes, so what we did was we organised scaffolding. We started on the Saturday afternoon and worked through the night, all Sunday and to Monday. By Tuesday we'd finished scaffolding some 6,000 square metres of scaffolding. And
how did you stick it back together? I mean, did you use the same brickwork, or you had to demolish it, or what did you have to do?
We had to literally demolish by hand all the way down to the 3rd floor, from the parapet on the roof above the 9th floor, all the way down to the ground floor, to the 3rd floor. We had to remove all the brickwork and re-support it all, and then repair all the lintels.
So all of brickwork had to be demolished. You couldn't stitch it back together, basically.
Absolutely no way.
So the only way was to demolish it and rebuild it from scratch.
It had moved 50 millimetres to 60 millimetres off the building. There's no way of fixing that. All the supports, all the brick ties holding it onto the building had let go. It was a big problem.
So when you actually do now your new buildings yourself with new rock constructions, do you make sure that you put? I'm sure that if you're here to repair and find solutions for these people, I'm sure that you don't forget to put your expansion joints and control joints. I mean, that's a major mistake, isn't it?
You know you must, and it's a fundamental point that has to always be remembered, that you have to understand the materials that the building's made out of, understand that concrete shrinks with time, the brickwork grows, and that's why you see so many buildings in Sydney with a lot of cracking in them, because the people who build the buildings don't have a good grip and understanding of how the materials perform.
Well, thank you very much. That was a very good story, and I'm sure that you have other stories for us later on that you show us the problems, and for sure you also show us what the solutions are, because that's the most important thing, that we can find solutions for the people.
That's the most important thing, and build the building right first. If we can't, then we'll be able to fix it if there's a problem.
So what you're saying to people is just make sure you build it right from the beginning. Absolutely. And then you don't have problems in the future. But if they do have problems, sure, you can fix.
There's nothing that can't be fixed.
Nothing that can be fixed. Okay, thank you, Maroun.